We are live.
Lewis from TikTok.
Hey, Lewis from TikTok. Thanks for your question.
What's the biggest mistake in construction?
Getting into construction? Mate, I think we overrate our own our own business expertise because we're apparently very good on the tools or good at building shit or whatever you. But what we do is we overestimate our business capabilities and apply the very common Aussie tradition, and that is she'll be right, mate. And unfortunately, she won't be right unless you make it right. So I think it's that ignorance and that nonchalance that too much complacency. It's just a big mistake, and really that's not an external thing, Lewis. That is an internal thing, my friend. It's the challenge for you as a successful construction operator will be achieved in because the 6 inches between your ears is all sorted out. So you got to have your mindset right. The more you learn, the more you earn. The better your altitude, the better your attitude, the higher your altitude. So I think there's a lot of investment. I know learning how to build shit was actually quite easy because it was over a period of years that you develop those skills and you're seeing what's happening. But in business, like my old boss, he went from building bridges at a golf course on the Gold Coast in Queensland to building high rises on the Gold Coast. So you go, shit, how did that happen? Because I saw what he built. He went from doing, maybe small renos, then he went into, custom homes in conjunction with a realtor, and then he went into some larger 3,500 to 4,000 square feet homes for international investors almost. And the whole time what you're seeing is you're just seeing more construction happen and more building and shit, right? And then all of a sudden he's got the wherewithal to go and build a $200 million high-rise on the Gold Coast. What I could see was the physical outworking of construction. What I didn't see was where did his financing come? How did he go about recruiting? What was his hiring and firing processes? How did he back cost? How did he understand whether a project was costing him money or whether he was making a shit ton of money? Those things are what I'm talking about. They're the intangibles. They're the things. Phil never come to me and said, Max, I just want to show you on how I go about back costing. Not once, not ever, has never happened. What he has done is showed me how to use hand tools. That's for sure. Showed me how to use electric power tools, like all of those kinds of things. So the biggest mistake is the lack of understanding of where our deficiencies or our blind spots are as builders. So, that was a pretty long answer to a very short question. Hope that helps. Keep them coming, folks.
User from TikTok. Would you ever use third-party estimators?
I know some of my guys do. It's a trial and error. There's no reason why not. But I wouldn't just go telling everybody, or I wouldn't go telling these guys, you're great, let's go. Just go, you want to just do it, one job at a time, test them out on it because they get paid. Here's the thing. Estimators get paid no matter what. You and I only get paid when we win the job and actually can go build it as long as we get paid. And so, be careful that you don't get, you utilize. Obviously, we want to try and get time back for sure. And so using a third-party estimator might be good, but you got to make sure that you're not paying a lot of money out of pocket. And this is why if you were on fixed price contracts, and maybe even cost plus guys and gals could do this as well, but you want to, so for us, let's say I was to take users' advice and I was going to go and use a third-party estimator, what I would do is as part of my, what I call quantity takeoff service, where we actually put together an idea and understanding of what the project's going to cost so we can go to a fixed price. I would utilize the services of an estimator. I could do that. Or I could have an in-house estimator. I could do it myself. But either way, somebody's time has got to be covered. So if you're able to operate using a quantity takeoff service, essentially means I get paid to ask subcontractors for quotes and ask suppliers for quotes and put that data together and compile a list of specifications and be able to sit down with the client and give a proposal of what's included, what it's going to cost and how long it's going to take. You could actually include that third-party estimator. The challenge is what they'll say is all care and no responsibility. And so what that means is that they will do their best to get the numbers right. But if they cock it up, it's not our fault. And that's a freaking problem. So what you'll find yourself doing, and we used to have this with lumber companies, they would say exactly that, all care but no responsibility. And so what they would basically say is, well, if we got it wrong and we've got to supply more material, we're going to charge you anyway. And essentially means if you use that one number, that line item in your estimate, you're now over budget. You're now eating into your gross profit, and that's a bad deal. So what you would have to do for the first couple of times, if you had the, their cost included in your, quantity takeoff service or as part of your design service process, you want to basically check out maybe the first 2 or 3 of their estimates to see if they're even close. So you end up paying them to do the estimate, then you end up doing the estimate to check them anyway. But if they're good and they deliver on time and they do save you time in the long run, then yes, I would think that you can't go wrong with that. And they're probably more efficient and maybe better than hiring somebody who's in-house and on your payroll. It could work out much better. So hope that helps. Let's go.
Conrad.
Hey, Conrad.
From TikTok.
Okay. What's Conrad got?
Why don't you like Cost Plus?
Conrad, the reason why is because, Cost Plus it appears very convenient for the builder. The problem is clients, you can sell it to the client because it's like, we get full transparency and you see where everything's, you see, what we've spent on your project. The problem with Cost Plus is what the client doesn't get, but that you do get, Conrad, is peace of mind and security. The builder doesn't have to worry about, because the owner's just going to keep paying me for the cost of goods sold or the materials and the labor, plus my management fee, which could be as low as 12%, which is retarded. So that's the first reason I don't like it, because I don't believe you can actually build a proper business and make good money. The second reason is that it really makes our service-oriented business into more of a commodity, like a can of beer, as opposed to a service product. Now, I don't know how long you've been around the game, Conrad, but I've been in the game now 34 years, of which I've spent probably, 10 to 15 years as a builder. And now I coach builders as part of our franchise group because I sell franchises in the construction sector to general contractors. So, what I see is just a lack of education around the ability to show value to clients, to be able to, because if I've been around 34 years and you've been a general contractor for 5 years, it's highly likely that I will be able to outmaneuver you based on purely just my experience and having been around the industry for so long. And I know what clients want a lot more than someone that's only been around for 5 years. So, and the other thing is, Conrad, that if you've only been around at 5 years, well, your understanding of construction will be less than mine if I've been around it and building, say, for 15 years as a builder. And therefore, there'd be things that you might overlook versus what I might do. So that's why that a can of Coke is a can of Coke, Coca-Cola. Whereas our construction services, it's very difficult for clients or customers to ascertain who is actually a better bet. And if they just judge it on price, then it's highly likely that they're going to end up having a builder or a general contractor doing their job, that just because they were cheaper doesn't make them better. So we look for certain clients that appreciate quality over price, but are still prudent. They're not stupid, but we add value by delivering the fixed price. So the Cost Plus doesn't give us that opportunity. But we have lost jobs to Cost Plus guys, and we're like, well, if it doesn't work out, you know where we are. Because, matter of fact, an example, mate, I had a Remax realtor in town here who said to the builder, I've only got $300,000 to do a carriage house, not a cent more. And the builder just went on and built it, la-di-da-di-da. Anyway, the final bills came in, and this guy ended up getting a bill for $380,000 in total. He then spent the next 12 months paying that guy off, and he couldn't do a thing about it. Now, do you think that client is going to give that builder a reference or a video testimony and tell the world how good that builder is? The answer is no, because the builder said, oh yeah, sure, no problem, $300,000 be fine, and he ended up charging him an extra $80,000 on top of that. So what we do is we really work hard at the front end to figure out what clients want, what the specifications are going to be, what the cost is going to be, of course, and then the project duration. So we can calculate using our job management software how long a project's going to take. And that gives clients peace of mind security. So if I went up against Conrad, who does cost plus, the client from their standpoint is going to say, well, Max has given me a fixed price. He's told me how long the project's going to take. He can fit me into his schedule on this date. Everything is very much predictable. Nobody likes a surprise unless it's your bloody birthday, right? And so that's why all of a sudden Conrad's going to pick up on cost plus a lot of the clients that won't want to pay the dime that I'm putting out because I'm covering everything. When we go into a first meeting with clients, we tell them straight away, a bathroom's going to cost you between 20 and 30 grand. The end. That's it. If they puke at me over that, my guys will just walk away. We're done. So we do 30 minutes worth of work and we qualify the clients as to where they're at. If you go in there and say, well, I think I can do this bathroom for 15 grand, it costs you 25, you are now the Antichrist and they freaking hate you and you will not get a referral from them. So what we don't do is we don't tickle areas up front. We tell them the truth based on our historical data and our experience. Now, the thing is, because the majority of folks are very price oriented, it takes a lot of digging. We've got to move a lot of dirt to find the gold. The clients that actually appreciate the service that we give. Matter of fact, my brand new guy from last week, he's already gone out and essentially proposed a quantity takeoff service to 2 clients, one of which said, oh, there's no obvious ROI. And immediately that's awesome because we don't want to work for him anyway. But then another one said, yep, I'm happy to go ahead. And that was either $350 or $500 for, a $30,000 to $50,000 job. So that's why cost plus to me really does put a limit on how big I can build the business, because there's so much answering to clients around what did that cost and what did that cost and what's your markup. No client really, I tell you what, the clients who we work for don't mind the fact that we make money. But the clients that want cost plus, they are interested in one thing, saving money, even if you make no money. And that's bullshit. Kiss my derriere. That's why I don't do cost plus. Next. What do we got? Thanks, Conrad. Appreciate it.
Rhett from TikTok.
Rhett, as in Thomas Rhett?
RHETT.
That's it. Okay. I don't think Thomas would be asking, so we'll go with Rhett. What's happening, my man?
What's your advice on being an excellent project manager?
Get your poop in a group. I think it comes down to you've obviously got to have a healthy understanding of construction process, right? It was project manager or construction manager? Project manager? Project manager. Yeah, on TikTok?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. You've got to have a healthy, understanding of construction. That would be a baseline for sure. I think that you've got to be able to stay organized, because no doubt you're running multiple, you're probably managing multiple projects, I think. Depending on the size, I mean, my brother was a superintendent for a company called Simmons Homes. So if you're in Melbourne or Brisbane, give us a shout out, because you've probably heard of Simmons Homes. But he was actually supervising 20 homes. Now, they would have only been about 2,000 square feet, about 200 square meters a home, so give or take. And he was managing 20. And so, that's where he was at. So he needed to have, back there, he had needed to be a licensed builder. So there's a couple of us in the family, a licensed builder to actually be a superintendent for a building company. Anyway, so you've got to have a really good baseline understanding of construction. Over there, you've got to actually have a builder's license to be a superintendent. And then what you've got to have is you've got to have fantastic organization skills. You've got to have a good understanding of how to utilize the software. You've got to have a certain level of leadership ability, because if you've got 20 projects on the go, you're going to have 20 sub-trades going, when did you want me on that job? And you're going to have 20 sub-trades asking you about questions whilst they're on the job. And then there could be some follow-ups that you've got to make to get shit finished, because they've moved on to the next job, because they're all about, getting all the work. So there's a hell of a lot of leadership involved. And, you've got to understand, sometimes you've got to be aggressive, but other times it pays to, try and catch flies with honey more so than with vinegar. So I think there's a leadership capability. And then there's certainly an accountability process, because I've been in construction meetings with general managers, construction managers, and where there's been half a dozen superintendents managing probably over 150 homes at any one time. And so there's a lot of accountability. So it goes back to being organized. All that the general manager is interested in is where's the next claim coming from. And, of course, the construction manager's sitting there going, well, I know the answer to this question. And so you've got to be good at understanding when you can hit deadlines, because no doubt if you're a construction or project manager, you're going to be answering to somebody, and therefore you've got to be able to get the work done in the field. But then obviously account for that. But then they're going to ask you for forecasts as well. So we're going to do a retroactive look at what's just happened, and then we're going to look forward and go, right, we need to have our billables at 300,000 for the month. Where are we up to, and where's the next claims coming from? So accountability is a big deal. But also, I think a hunger to learn. Like if you're a project manager, don't just sit in that little sweet spot and go, I've got it made, because there's somebody else out there who's more hungry that probably costs less that's going to take your position. So always really try and stay on the front foot, be teachable, have a desire to learn. And guys, probably, they're all pretty important, but this is pretty important too. You've got to have a great relationship with pain, because as a project manager, I would assimilate it to very much like for me as a CEO, there's not a lot of physical pain that I go through doing my day-to-day job. And, but the pain that I go through is dealing with lots of personalities and lots of challenging situations. And that has a more of a stressful or a mental strain on me. Whereas in the old days, I might have got sore because I was humping trusses around, or I was lifting, wall frames, or whatever the case may be. But I'd go home and I'd have something to eat and a beer, and I'd, have a sleep, and next day you'd go out and do it again, you're fine. But with what you do as a construction or project manager, it's all mental. And I think not only having a good relationship with pain, but being able to, not let the overwhelm affect you and your life outside of the working environment. So that's got nothing to do with project management. It's got a lot to do with not shitting on your personal life because you're trying to please your boss. So that's why then you go back to communication. So know your limits. And in some cases, guys have got into project management and they've gone, nah, get rid of that. I'm not doing that. I'm going back into, framing or whatever, because, the mental pain is like physically you can have a rest, go to sleep, and you wake up a little bit, invigorated. With mental pain, you go to bed with it. You may not get to sleep quick, and then, you wake up with it instantly. You start thinking about the shit you got to deal with. So not only having a good relationship with pain, but making sure that you understand how to process. That's pretty important. So, your mental wellness, I think at the end of the day is your priority. So anyway, if you need help, make sure you reach out. Do not stay quiet. Do not be an island. So put your hand up. That's what I'd encourage you to do. Righto, next one. Thanks. Who was that, Conrad? No. Rhett. Thanks, Rhett. Good question. Let's go.
Andy from TikTok.
Hey, Andy from TikTok.
Do you have a go-to argument for clients that focus on lower price? Should I be going into detail of all the extra work I'm doing versus competition and quality of materials? Yeah, dude. Look,
and this is the problem, or not. This is not the problem. It's the challenge. If I have a client, this is why, Andy, when you go to the first meeting, okay, let's go back up one more. So we get a phone call. So I ring the client and I'm talking to them really quick, and that's a 2 to 3 minute phone call at the most. The idea is to do some really, really long distance qualifying. And then the idea would be to, obviously book a meeting. That's really what that first phone call's about. But when I get to that first meeting, it's very much a quality of client meeting. I want to see if, I'm happy to sort of deal with them, but also I'm there to gather the information. I'm listening to what they're saying and what their project requirements are. But when I have a client, and so here's the reason why, guys and girls, you need to chat about their expectation about the cost to build. Now, I put out a video a little while ago about don't ask them for their budget, talk about their budget expectation. In other words, what do they expect from me as it relates to the cost of the build? And the reason is because in the back of their mind, they have got a number that they think it's worth. Now, they're not really educated around that. They might have watched some HGTV, but they're not builders, they're not estimators unless they are. And if they are, they're probably going to have a fairly good educated understanding of what it's going to cost. But let's say for a bathroom, I might say to the clients, look, in my experience, or based on the historical data, bathrooms that we do start at 20,000. How do you feel about that? And if they puke all over me and say, Max, I thought I was going to get out of this 10 to 15, then I would just say, look, we're at a crossroad here where I know based on my experience that you're not going to get it done for 10 to 15. So either I'm going to probably just leave you be until you maybe find some more cash, or or you're going to be able to find some more cash and we're going to be able to move ahead with the process. Now, if they then say to me, sure, okay, Max, we understand what you're saying, it's going to cost between 20 or 30. The next thing that I do as part of that, because just because they've given me a head nod, they're playing the game because they want a price on the bathroom, let's say. What I will do is I'll say to them, look, okay, great, for me to nail down a cost for your project, because the things that you're going to select are going to be different a lot of the time from what I've done in the past. It's going to cost you $500 for me to go and ask suppliers and subcontractors for quotes, put that information together in a specification and present that to you, ready to move to a fixed price contract. How do you feel about investing a little bit of money up front to figure out in advance what this project's going to cost you, what it includes, and how long it's going to take? If at that point they say no, they never intended on getting the extra money. They just wanted to see me go and do all the work for free and get them the price which they knew they couldn't afford. So it's at that point when I get a no about the quantity takeoff service, I get out and dodge. It's easier to give birth than it is to raise the dead, folks. Dismount, the horse is dead. Go and find another client to do some quotes for, boys and girls. Do not try to convince. They will never. If they haven't got the money, they haven't got the money. The end. Next question. Thanks, Andy.
If you want to refer Andy to episode 109, it's 10 tips to improve your client communication.
Okay, episode 109. All right, episode 109 on the Business for Builders podcast, almost called a TikTok podcast, talks about how to communicate better with clients. That might help you, but if you got clients that are just grinding on price, just move on.
Yeah.
I don't have time for that shit, dude.
Yeah.
Our marketing's too good. I get too many inquiries to dick around with people that just want to think they're superheroes and grind me on price. So get out and dodge. Next.
Legion Homes USA.
There he is. Legion Homes USA. Need a house built? Go and talk to those guys. On Instagram?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Could you expand on how the attitude test related to the initial meeting and conversation of pricing?
You've got a good memory, my friend. You know what? Attitude test. Jacob Posma asked me the same thing. He said, what does that attitude test actually look like? I'll tell you a story real quick, but it's this is funny. I had a copper say to me one day, and I'm not going to tell you how we ended up together, but I had a copper say to me today, this can go one of two ways, pal. If you don't fail the attitude test, it'll end well. But if you fail the attitude test, you're staying overnight. And so ever since then, I've used that terminology. There is actually no written attitude test. It was just from my days gone by. Essentially, if a client's being smart, and you think about how much shit that law enforcement gets from somebody that's maybe slightly inebriated or someone that's got an attitude towards law enforcement that's not really conducive to, good times. You're gonna put cuffs on them and throw them in the back of the friggin' paddy wagon or back of the cruiser and then take them back. So there is no official attitude test, but maybe Tom, make a note. We shall design.
You want to make an attitude test?
We're gonna actually come up with an attitude test, which is hilarious because I didn't realize people were going to take me so literal that shit. Max has an attitude test. But maybe we can document an attitude test for everybody. So Legion Homes USA, mate, the attitude test is anything whereby I think that the chemistry between me and the client isn't going to work, and mate, on any aspect where humans have to, let's say, integrate and interface and work together and things like that, it doesn't matter whether it's a builder client, builder subcontractor, builder supplier, any kind of, whether you've got, you got good guys that are working for you now and you've got guys that you fired because they're dickheads, right? Well, that's what I'm talking about. There's something that happened within that process where you went, these guys aren't a fit. Matter of fact, I had somebody asked me, I think on a comment on TikTok this morning, how do you tell a client no? And it really just came down to, at the end of the day, we've assessed the information that, we gathered on our initial visit. And unfortunately, we're not in a position to provide a bid for your project. It just wasn't a fit for our company. So we take responsibility that we've analysed the detail and we've just decided that it's not a fit. All the best with your project. So, that's that chemistry thing. I'm trying to play in a rock and roll band, which is not really working out for me. But, it's about, even I had a buddy come and play bass and it just wasn't going to work out. His commitment wasn't there and I had to let him go. we're still buddies. Like that doesn't affect it. I'm just not about to go into the music business, with that guy behaving that way and not being as committed as I need him to be. So, yeah, mate, that's sort of, hopefully that answers the question. I think that answers the question. And we've got this bloody interstate freight train honking the horn. He's early. It's only 3:30.
Yeah.
All right. Hopefully it won't get in the way. Let's go. What's the next question?
The real twig or the realt wig? Not sure.
Right.
Real twig.
The real twig or the realt wig.
Yeah. On
right.
TikTok.
No matter how you slice it. Righto.
What's a good hourly rate to charge per man hour for carpentry that's achievable in Southern Ontario?
Yeah, it is a little bit of a regional question, but I know that somewhere between this is what we might put. I think we put somewhere around the $65 mark for one human, and then we might make it if it's a man hour for two guys, we might actually make it maybe 110. So remember that obviously our markup percentages are probably significantly greater than what most are, but the clients are paying for what we believe is a white glove, top shelf boutique service. Now, guys aren't perfect, but we're striving for a high level to deliver construction services at the highest level. So what you might need to do, this is what I would advise you to do, is start out a little lower than that. And the reason we the labor burden on top of the hourly rate for a carpenter, it kind of amalgamates, so we don't actually go and charge double what one guy is worth. So yeah, I would start off at something a little more conservative perhaps. And certainly if you're winning too much work, guys and girls, just a side note, if you're winning too much work, it's because your rates are too bloody low and your work is really good. So what you might consider doing is just jacking those rates up a little bit and try to find your sweet spot, and all the time trying to improve, your reputation in your area, and also, work hard at trying to convert to turn clients into raving fans, and then certainly asking them for, a video testimonial. And I know that sounds really hardcore and corporate-y and shit like that, and it's not cheap. It would probably cost you $1,500 to get one video review, but they are gold. And we're about to put up one of our latest video testimonials, and it is 8 minutes long. And the quality of the work and the quality of the client, it just put shivers up my spine, right? Because the experience they had was so great. And I was actually there. It was for one of our guys on Vancouver Island, and I got talking to the clients, and it was a great time where they were very happy with the project and their experience. So as far as rates, just be conservative, but please don't undercook it, but don't overcook it. Undercooking means you're going to be doing too much work for not enough money. Overcooking it means you're going to be too expensive for what your perceived value of your building company is, and therefore you're not going to get any work. So always be sort of testing and measuring and making sure that you're always trying to maintain that sweet spot. Hope that helps. The real twig. Let's go.
Philip from TikTok.
G'day, Philip from TikTok.
How do you get jobs in the beginning? I'm having a hard time getting leads.
Well, getting jobs and getting leads is two different things, my friend. Look, I think to get leads is one thing, okay? So let's quickly talk about lead generation. There is a lot of witchcraft and sorcery around what you use and what you do. We get leads from Facebook and from Google Ads, but we do pay to play. We spend serious money, which maybe is not a lot of money to people, but when we're dropping $5,000 per month on Facebook, and we're dropping $9,000 a month on we're spending $14,000 to $15,000 on lead gen. But we're probably corporately a $4 to $5 million building company, and we're only just getting started. So it's all relative. But I would say, because you're going to need, because of that level of investment that we do, and a lot of that Facebook and Google Ads is managed in-house. So there's also staffing, or team that takes care of that, which is, another cost, another overhead. What you might be inclined to do is to utilize somebody. If you're in North America, Angie's List is one, Trusted Pros is another. It's all about developing a reputation. So you start small, start simple, but dream big, and utilize some of those, because the power, let's say with Trusted Pros in Canada, I know a little bit about, they're working hard on their Google ads. So when clients are sort of Googling general contractor in Ontario or whatever, there's opportunity there. So what I wouldn't do is I would go to Trusted Pros and build up a really good profile, make sure all of your insurance documentation is there, and make sure that your verification score is right up there. So that's going to take a little bit of transparency. But here's the problem. A lot of guys don't like putting decals on their vehicles because they don't like knowing who you are. Well, it cuts both ways. Yep, if you drive like a dickhead, people are going to harass the shit out of you for sure. But the flip side is, if you don't drive like a dickhead, it's a really great billboard, and it will get you some awareness and some maybe phone calls, or they'll stop you at Home Depot or whatever. And so, that's pretty cheap advertising. That might cost you somewhere between, if you've got to get the whole vehicle wrapped and you're running a crew cab pickup truck, it's going to cost you somewhere between $4,000 and $5,000 to have decals and the wrap done. If you've already got the right coloured vehicle and you just put decals on, it's going to cost you somewhere between $1,500 and $2,000. It's a great billboard. But if you want to build trust, which is what this is all about, we at Smith & Sons are about deconstructing the wall of distrust. We have got to work with the client 8 to 12 times and connect with those clients 8 to 12 times before we can actually ask for the business. Because what we're trying to do is build rapport, and people do business with people that they know, like, and trust. And therefore, if trust is one of the major deals, by getting on, let's say, Trusted Pros and building a high level of trust visually for the clients to see, then it's more likely that they're going to entice, or they're going to engage with you on a phone call. And so that's just getting the lead, right? But then there's winning the work and winning the job. And so now it's up to your personal skills, your ability to call fast, your ability to get a meeting, your ability to be an authority and know what the hell you're talking about when you get to the client's home, and be able to build rapport and have good communication skills, and then being able to put your estimate together in good time, ready to present to the clients, either cost plus, which makes me cringe, or a fixed price. That's the work that you've got to do, and that's the understanding that you've got to have as it relates to winning the clients over. Because we, more often than not, the jobs that we win, folks, we are more expensive than the majority. But in some cases, because we're getting paid to deliver a service in the way of a quantity takeoff, we actually take them off the market. We're not actually competing with anyone because they've seen the value. In the last week, I've seen 2 emails from clients that have told us that our reputation in their area was on point. It was top shelf. And that just goes into that reputation and that brand awareness and delivering and doing what we say we're going to do. And that really, that comes down to a lot of our relationship building expertise, and that we teach our guys before we've even gone to construction. So, getting the lead is one skill set, if you like, but winning the job is going to take another one. And then, of course, construction, no point in getting the lead, getting the job, and then doing a really shit process in delivery, because then all of that sales and marketing and sales work is really undermined. So you've got to make sure that your marketing is really good. You've got to make sure your sales process is documented, is really on point. You know what you're doing, you're organized. And then, of course, your delivery and your construction, and even in your after-sales service, has got to be there as well. Because some people go, what's your warranty? For us, it's a minimum 6 months. Sometimes it's 12 months, depending on my operators. And that just covers the workmanship side of things. And, of course, manufacturers' guarantees and warranties sometimes exceed that and go into the years. So, hope that helps. Next one.
Raymond has an interesting question.
Okay.
He says, thoughts on Swinerton as a company. And I did some quick research.
Right.
It looks like they're a franchise organization out of the States with 19 locations, and they're commercial. And they were founded in 1880-something. Yeah.
I wonder how long they've been franchising for. I have no comment. I don't know. I'm definitely, you documented that. We'll do
1888.
We'll research that.
Yeah,
so
I've never heard of them.
So they've been around for 100 lots of years.
Yeah.
And no, I haven't heard of them, but I'll be interested. I will definitely, because that's the other thing I do, guys and girls. I steal with my eyes and ears, so I appreciate the heads up. And I'm always interested because it's not as common. I don't believe it's as common in the States as what it is in Australia, that franchising in the construction sector. And so I'm always interested. Now, they're in commercial. And, that doesn't really, I'm in the residential and we focus on remodeling and renovations. But, there's some things that I might see on their website that I'm like, okay, that's really useful. That's a good way. Dude, I am so down with having my mind blown because someone else is out there and they're probably doing it better than I am. So if you're a builder and you're a general contractor, that's the same advice. Just keep looking around. If you see somebody's ad on Facebook, like a Smith & Sons or somebody else, go and look at their website and troll their shit and just go, what's a little thing that I could do today or this month or this week or whatever that could maybe help me build a business over a period of time, and be patient because it doesn't happen in 5 minutes. So yeah, thanks for the heads up. I appreciate the insight.
Jimmy the Kid. I don't think this is a question
the Kid.
or the statement. My hardest part is finding good guys or getting rid of guys that cost us money.
Yep. Okay. Everyone, we all do that, mate. And I tell you right now, it's got to do with how much dirt you move to find the good guys. But in finding the good guys, you've got to move a lot of dirt to find the gold. So you've got to put them on the job. Tell them up front. Say, look, I know you want $5,000 an hour and you tell me how good you are, but I know within a week whether or not you're actually going to be worth it or whether you're bullshitting me. And so what we do is essentially we utilize the hire quickly, fire quickly. And because in construction, most of the guys that are recruiting guys know what a good guy is or looks like. And therefore, you don't need to have the guys on for 3 months to figure out they're wood ducks or they're pretenders or they're bullshit artists or they're tire kickers. We just don't need that. And so I think that you got to make sure too, this is the flip side. If you know there's going to be some experimentation in finding guys, you've got to be able to weather the financial storm of bringing someone in, give them a bit of a start, and then having to piss them off and start over again. That costs you money. And so, that's really a tricky part of it, that if you can't afford to do that, then you might not be in a position where you can recruit at all. And it's easy for me. They walk in, I tell them that, I'm saying, look, I've been in the game for 30 plus years. I know what a good carpenter looks like. You're telling me a good carpenter. We're going to see about that. If you're a good carpenter, it'd be great to have you aboard. And I'm really, it is hard to find good guys. But I am telling you right now, before I've even seen you put a bag on, that in a week's time, I'm going to let you know one way or the other. So I don't want to break your heart. But if you're useless, I'm going to tell you, right? I just got no time for bullshit artists. My business is too important. My clients are too important. I have to make sure that I'm delivering at the highest level. And I don't have time to be a charity because some old mate tells me how good he is. And so if I've got to find the gold, I've got to get rid of the dirt. So that's the way it is. I think kind candor, right? Don't go and blow them up. Just let them know that you go, hey, you're not a fit for my business. I need someone with a little bit better skill set. You're doing okay, but you're not a fit for my business. You got to go. That's it, folks. If you don't do that and you don't lead, because leaders lead, if you don't lead your building company, then you're going to let the tail wag the dog and it's going to cost you shit tons of money. So just be aware. But yeah, again, hey folks, while I've got you, max at businessforbuilders.ca. Email me one question at a time in the subject line. Give me a bit of a spiel if you like, and I'll get back to you, in due process. And of course, check out our Business for Builders podcast. There's a whole bunch of shit that we're talking about. In some cases, it answers a lot of the questions that have already been asked. So get across that. Listen to that while you're, knocking frames up or whatever. And that can help you out a lot. And be sure to check out our Business for Builders YouTube as well. That'll help you out a little bit as we grow our business as well. So
Jimmy the Kid just said, thanks, appreciate your guidance.
No worries, Jimmy the Kid, mate.
He's
all
been
the
in
best.
one of our lives before.
Righto. Well, good to have you back, Jimmy the Kid. Keep us in the loop, mate. And like I said, don't be afraid. If I get guys that keep coming back, I start to identify, who are those that really want to play the game and, who need the insight. And so I'm happy to pay a little bit more specific attention to you on email if you'd like. So good as gold. What's next?
Javia.
Javia.
Jahvia.
Javia it is. That sounds about right.
Hey, I'm a plumber from Sydney, Australia.
Sweet.
Any tips or advice for me about to start my own business?
Now, I'm gonna assume he's talking about his own plumbing business, right?
Yes.
Okay, so look, I would say this, that I know as a builder that my ability to find good tradespeople all hinges off my ability to deliver a product to the client hinges off the ability of my sub-trades or my subcontractors to deliver to me on time. My sub-trades make me look good. There's no question about it. Now, this is the problem with, if you're not what we're trying to do is not be the cheapest. We're just trying to price at the market level where the business can actually make a profit, where we can grow the business, okay? Or maintain an acceptable profit level. So with me over here selling to end users at what I believe is market value, which can tend to be a little bit more expensive than the average bear, what it allows me to do, if I can sell at the highest level and demonstrate value and get clients that understand that they get what they pay for, what it allows me to do is recruit good tradespeople where I can pay them a little bit more money to keep their loyalty. I want trades that are going to give me good service, and I want trades that are going to give me good quality work. But I've got to understand that I've got to, if I want good sub-trades, I get what I pay for. So my advice to you, Javier, is look to be the best sub-trade that you can be. And sometimes if you're just cutting in, you're going to have to work for the what I would call the minimum rate. But what you're going to need to look for, Javier, is if you're staying as a subcontractor plumber, you're going to want to look for builders that sell to their clients the way that I sell. So you don't want to just go and work for any builder. What I would advise, if I was a plumber in Sydney right now, I would talk to builders that understand the concept that I've just outlined, that we don't want to be the cheapest. We're not trying to gouge. We've not got a monopoly. We can't just go and charge whatever we want. We can demonstrate value and then maybe charge a premium, what I would say, to the higher level customers. What you want to do is find those guys. Now, Javier, if you're in Sydney, I would get on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, Google, and go and chat with the Smith & Sons, these guys. Smith & Sons Renovations and Extensions is what they're called in Australia. And I would go and have a chat with those guys because we're talking about the same company. So if you're just starting, if you're going to start your own plumbing business, you've not got a lot of experience running your own business, right? What I'd find is that the majority of Smith & Sons operators understand the concept of building a network of reliable tradespeople. And therefore, if you go to them with a high level of humility and understand the power of teachability, you can actually get in their slipstream and really work your way up where they'll actually reward you for delivering good services and good quality work. So again, the power for you to make the most money that you can make as a subcontractor is actually determined by the mentality of the builder and how they go about selling, right? You've got to understand that as a subcontractor, the builder, I've got to buy you at wholesale and sell you at retail. In other words, I have to make an arbitrage or a markup there, right? That's what we want from our sub-trades, Javier. That's how you're going to be a better subcontractor. Don't go and work for every builder. If you find builders that want to Jew you down and grind you down on price, you need to go and find builders. But remember, for you, Javier, as a subcontractor, you're going to have to move a lot of dirt to find the golden builders to work for, okay? So just keep that in mind. Anyone else that's out there that's a subcontractor, that's what you got to do. You got to find the right builders to do work for that actually give a shit and are good humans and that are fair, because somewhere out there, those two people, when they align, there's power in that, right? You get a good quality human builder and a good quality human subcontractor, and you guys can make magic. It's freaking awesome to watch. I've experienced it. So, sorry, let's go. Another long answer to that. You know what I want to do, Dom?
What?
I don't know why we can't get the Smith & Sons phone and just get these guys on a call. Righto, here we go.
Way.
Here we go. Now, let's see what's going on. This is Hunter Sharp, yeah?
Hello?
Hunter.
Hey!
What's happening, Tiger? Welcome to the show, bro. You are the first live phone call guest, bro.
I'm so honored.
Mate, if you were here, I'd get a selfie with you, buddy.
Man, this is so cool. I'm so excited. You know what's crazy? I just came across your account
Okay.
on TikTok today.
Sweet, man.
I was looking for some videos about contracting and subcontractors and things like that. And I came across your videos and I just loved them. And I saw that you were doing a Q&A later today.
Sweet.
And so I thought, why not give a shot?
Sweet.
Mate, what can I do for you right now? Like what can I help you with?
Well, so I myself am a subcontractor. I'm a commercial and residential painter.
Okay.
And I've been painting for the last 4 years. Since I was 17, I'm 21 years old. And so my biggest question, I guess, in your experience with painters, what are some red flags that you look for whenever you're meeting with them, and for that matter, any subcontractor? But what are like your main red flags that you're looking for to kind of tell you, I don't know if I should, do business with this guy. I got an uneasy feeling. What are some of those things that you're looking for?
So you're just to clarify, you're saying if I'm a builder and I'm looking for subcontractors, what am I looking for?
Correct.
Yeah, look, mate, I honestly believe, we are really redefining how because, the business I'm in, Brady, is, have I got the right name?
Hunter.
Hunter. We're redefining, Hunter, how we go about recruiting general contractors into our group. And, some of the or pretty much most of the components or the criteria that we're looking for are all mindset. It's their attitude. And things like, I don't mind having guys having healthy egos, but, I really would like them, to have a high degree of humility as well. I ask guys, you do understand that I'm the general contractor, I'm your client. Now, I'm not asking that from a position of arrogance, but we've got to set some ground rules that says, I am your client, and because of what I do, you don't actually have to do any marketing. And so, it's very much, the chemistry, which I was just addressing a second ago, that's super important. I want a hardworking guy, and because I sell at a higher level, so, it goes back to you, Hunter, as a sub, you want to make sure that the builders you're working for aren't just winning jobs on price. And so this is why it cuts both ways, and it's super interesting to jam around it because I've been both. I've been a subcontractor and I've been a builder. And so if you're a subcontractor working for a builder that's always trying to be the cheapest price, then
it's a nightmare.
That builder's going to grind the shit out of you to on your price.
Yeah.
So it's what I would say, Hunter, is that it's human interaction. It's the human interface and the level of understanding. I think open, honest communication is what I need from my subcontractors, that if they're not happy about something, they've got to talk to me about it. Now, I can't guarantee that I'm going to be able to rectify their concern on that job. But if they're a good sub and I don't want to lose them and I think they do give me good service and they got a good attitude, then what I want to do is I'm going to massage, let's say, my pricing or my type of inclusions in the scope of work for said painter or whatever the case may be, so that I keep Hunter around, because I really probably didn't do him any favors on this job, but I promised that I'm going to do better on the next one. And so I think you want to look for those kind of red flags, and that's probably that would be the best one, Hunter, is to ask the builder. So, do you win jobs? Just a quick question: do you like to win jobs on price, or are you looking to win jobs in a process whereby you're actually not the cheapest in most cases? And if you were asking me that, Hunter, I'd say we win jobs, and probably 90% of the time we're more expensive than anybody else. And you'd be like, what you need to then is go, okay, that means he must be paying his subs. Or he's a greedy builder, which means he's not going to get the good subs hanging around anyway. So, and it's a very much a test and measure. So just what you'd want to do is try and then really have a really good understanding of what you're looking for. And if those two things don't line up between you and the builder, you've just got to basically go your separate ways. And so that's it in a nutshell, Hunter. I hope that helps, man.
Oh, definitely, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and like I say to the other guys, maybe we should put that email in the comments.
You want me to put it in there?
Yeah, just max@businessforbuilders.ca, and that way everybody can, just grab that and just email me. And if obviously I get flooded with emails, so I get round to them as best I can. But yeah, it's funny. I'm in the business of, trying to be one of the largest builders in North America. We're already a decent sized brand in Australia and New Zealand. But ultimately what we're trying to do is we're trying to re-engineer the client experience by delivering construction services at the highest level. But that doesn't mean that we go and rape and pillage as builders. What I'm actually trying to do is teach builders how to find the right clients and deliver, to them the right product. But then I'm also about working with clients to not get screwed over by dickhead builders. And then I'm also I want to work with subcontractors, because it all ties together. We don't want to do work for dickhead clients. So if we can find good clients, great. If we can be a really good builder pricing at a price point that enables us to be profitable, we can actually share some of that profit with our subs. And then if we get good subs, it enables us to do better work and maybe more work. So everybody is blessed along the way. And it's an uphill grind, because it's such what I would call a default design. The construction sector, in the renovations especially, where it's just a friggin' wild, wild west. And, we're really trying to, improve the whole game for everybody. So, Hunter, I really appreciate you calling in, man.
The very first.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. I had a lot of fun. You've been very helpful and informative, so wishing you guys all the best.
Yeah, big love to you, champ. And this will be on Facebook and it'll be on everything as our first phone call, bro. So you're a legend. We'll catch up for a beer one day.
All right, sounds good, man.
All right, champion. Have a good one. Be safe.
See ya.
Bye. Okay. What do we got? Statements or comments or questions? What's happening?
We got a TikTok from Pong Linus. Hey, mate, do you recommend builders to use the standard fair trade building contract?
Builders, so it's a building contract with clients?
Builders to use their standard fair trading building contract.
You know what? I would have said, normally I would say, yeah, it's definitely better than nothing. And, obviously over time, those contracts would have been improved and made better. But I have had, now I don't know if this was a sales pitch, but there was a company that I used to use for debt collection that they drew up all my contracts and they added more on top of the industry association contract. So, and that was because if they were going to go and collect the debt, they wanted to make sure the paperwork was in order and really worked out, the way they wanted it to. And so I would say, yes, I think, an industry association, if it was probably an Aussie. So either Master Builders,
he said mates,
Home
definitely.
Industry Association or Housing Industry Association, I think they're probably, they're probably as good contracts, but there might be some improvement to that based on a conversation with maybe a debt collection company or a credit control company. Company I used to use was EC Credit Control. I'm assuming they're still in business. They were pretty big back then. So, just have a chat with those guys and they will actually look after you really well. It cost me about $3,000. But well worth it because lawyers cost you bullshit money and you don't want to go down that route. So, yep, I would give that tick of approval as a starting point for sure.
Jordan Grant from TikTok.
Jordan Grant, welcome to the show.
Thoughts on being an apprentice on contract versus wages?
Can't do it, mate. I don't know where you are, but I know that when I did my apprenticeship, when I was a third-year apprentice, I was on contract. And I don't believe – I could be wrong. Look, I could be wrong. I just know this. Even if you're on contract, the guy you're working for, because you're working for him directly, he's probably going to have to pay all your occupational health and safety or, work safe or work cover or whatever the hell it is, like all your safety stuff. Your workplace health and safety is all going to have to be covered. So it might be, dude, but I think while you're learning, I don't know if you want the responsibility of running a business. And when you go on contract, you are running a business. So – it'll either make you or break you, champ, and depending on the individual you are and depending on how much support you've got around you who are from the industry, that will determine. So probably want to look into employment standards in your area, figure out whether apprentices can go on contract before you go and sort of make any decisions. But like I said, I did, which was 1992, so half you guys weren't even born then. But I was definitely on a 70-30 split with a journeyman or a qualified carpenter doing frames. Probably the most money I've ever made as money I made versus my expenses. Probably the most money I've ever made. So, just go and do your homework, mate. That would be super important. Was that Jordan?
Yes.
Yeah, righto. Good question, Jordan. Hope that goes well. Keep me in the loop.
Zach from TikTok.
Righto, Zach. Why don't we get more comments out of Insta? Let's go, Instagram. Pick it up.
Branching off of my family's GC company and starting my own. Advice on biz structure starting out.
Yeah, so that's interesting. So he's second generation at least. He's got a good knowledge. This is Zach, right?
Zach, yep.
Thanks for the question, Zach. Look, I think you're, I talk about my old boss, the guy I did my time with, and, he's pretty successful, but his old man was a builder. And Dennis wasn't a big shot builder. He was just kind of a one-man band almost. But something out of that, as Phil grew up, he got exposed to the building industry, construction sites, and he took it to the friggin' moon, dude. I mean, he's building $200 million high-rises. So, I think what you need to do, perhaps the great thing for you, if you've seen the inner working of a building company, look at the things that they did really well and really, latch onto that. Look at what they didn't do terribly well and try to improve that or stay away from that. What, you got something else?
You just added, my stepdad wasn't a great business owner and the business is tanking. I'm starting from zero.
Okay, so there's a laundry list of shit that he did wrong
Yeah.
and not much that he did right. So, Zach, hang around my podcast, hang around our Business for Builders YouTube channel, and that certainly might, hopefully give you something to start with. But I think what I would say, Zach, is you want to dream big, start small, systemize everything, understand the power of systems. Systems give you leverage. What you need to do is really double down on understanding financial metrics, blind sides. And this is what you've just said. My stepdad wasn't a great business owner. What that means is he probably didn't understand what the appropriate markup was. He didn't understand what break-even points were. He didn't understand, that every time you put somebody on, you've actually got to bill a lot more than just to be able to break even. He didn't understand how to analyze financial metrics within a business. He didn't do that monthly like you should. There's a lot of things that and so that's why doubling down on educating yourself around financial management within a building company or within business in general is definitely a good thing. But as it relates to a construction business, understanding economies of scale, that until you hit 10 million plus, you don't enjoy the benefits of economy of scale. You also then want to double down on business development fundamentals around, org charts, organizational charts. How are you going to start out? When's the right time to engage maybe an office nanny or someone in admin, someone in, sales, someone in project management. Understand what your strengths and weaknesses are. Don't employ somebody or engage, get someone on who's got the same skill set as you. You want someone to complement your skill set. What you want to do is, whatever your weakness is, try and engage someone who has those as strengths. And certainly, understanding that, business is a long game. So be patient. And I don't know how old you are, Zach, but, if you're mid-20s, mate, you can literally live for another lifetime and still be younger than I am. So, mate, it's just that it is a game, and you kind of got to love the game too. So it's a people business. You're dealing with subs, you're dealing with suppliers, you're dealing with homeowners, you're dealing with family members, you're dealing with team members, and all humans at one point become intolerable. But it's a patience game. So Zach, there's probably something in the way of a podcast which I haven't really got there. I don't know if I can.
We have a whole playlist on YouTube for starting your own business.
A whole playlist on YouTube. So Business for Builders YouTube channel, Zach, which is all about starting up your business. So may not be a lot of specific stuff, but there'll be definitely a lot of general information around it.
He just added, thank you. I have spreadsheets for financials, for job costing, etc., internal websites for systems. Biggest issue is estimating on my own currently, but thank you for the answer.
Yeah, mate, I think, spreadsheet for financials for job costing. So what he's saying is, if I've got it right, he's using Excel spreadsheet for estimating. What I'm also talking, and he's got internal website for systems.
Yeah.
I think the other thing, Zach, is you want to be able to back cost job by job, mate. So, you want to make sure that when you've done your estimate and you've come up with exactly that. Now, we do an estimate to come up with a fixed price building contract quote amount, but it's still an estimate. We're guesstimating how long the demolition is going to be. We're guesstimating how long the framing is going to take, et cetera, unless we've got quotes from those suppliers. What you've got to be able to do is back cost, Zach. You've got to be able to go, well, my estimate for lumber was 10 grand. Now I go and take all of the receipts from Home Depot or Home Hardware, wherever you bought your shit, Lowe's or Rona or whatever, and compare them together side by side. And so our software that we use, Zach, and probably investing in a software, mate, is like getting a driver's license. You might want to drive a car, but you're not going to be able to do it without a driver's license. So we use BuildExact. It's a good starting point. It's not cheap. The most you'll pay for that, I think, is about $299 or $300 Canadian per month. Now, there's two parts to that, so you can cheapen it down a little bit. But like going into construction without a proper job management software, estimating, quoting, invoicing, back costing, budget analyzing, scheduling is just like, wanting to go and drive a car and not wanting to go get a driver's license. So, it's those small. And I'd say this, start with small projects, develop the systems that suit a big project, and you'll grow into big projects in a competent, safe, and secure manner. That's what I would say, Zach. So, mate, stay close. Keep an eye. Go looking through all the podcast stuff on Business for Builders on Apple or Spotify, wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. and then just go check out the Business for Builders YouTube channel, mate. Plenty of info there. What you got?
He just added again. I have a job estimated cost sheet with an actual cost separately with COGS / margin percent, etc.
Mate. Yeah, and I'm telling you, you didn't invent that shit by yourself. I would say that's come from your stepdad's company, I think, or you've actually been a good student and you've gone after it and you've really doubled down on trying to gather up that information. So, yeah.
Okay, next one.
I think he's just thrown out. He's just said that you've helped me a bunch. Thank you, mate. Thanks for the love. I'm glad I can be a bit of a help. So trust it goes well, and just be patient, work hard, man. And I think you're the kind of guy that's going to have a really good story in a couple of years. So yeah, stick around. We'd love to hear from you again. Let's go.
James from TikTok.
Okay, James from TikTok. Let's go.
Some tips to be a good project manager. We literally answered the exact same question.
Did we?
At the very start.
Okay, so here's what I would say. What does that minute say?
That's 1:16.
Okay, so at 1:16, an hour and 16 minutes, that's how long I've been at this, an hour and 16 minutes on the Business for Builders YouTube channel. Under what playlist? This will be Q&A.
This will be Q&A.
Under Q&A video lists on Business for Builders YouTube at an hour and 16 or thereabouts. Just before that, actually.
It would have been, it's
an hour
the
and
fourth question in.
It'll be the fourth question in. There will be an explanation about what it takes to be a good project manager. And I did go pretty deep on that.
A week from
tomorrow.
Yeah.
A week from tomorrow. So Saturday, a week from tomorrow.
Yes.
And that will be on YouTube.
Yes.
So giddy up. That's where you'll find your answers, man.
Cooper from TikTok.
Righto, Cooper.
What's your qualification in trade?
He's
asking what's your qualification?
I am a carpenter by trade, and I got a builder's license as well.
Cool. Next one, Lachlan from TikTok.
Righto, Lockie. What's up?
Any advice for a young cadet making their way up in the construction management in a tier 1 company?
Yeah, if you're making your way up in construction management, that's almost project management, but yeah, look, I think it's all about the type of person. And here again, right, you can go and work for some corporates. Like, we're a corporate business, but I bet you if I ask most folks here, they don't probably think it's too corporate-y because I'm a little bit of a redneck. So, and the thing is, I'm blue collar, I come from the trade, so I'm not going to run it like maybe a typical white collar, which may be a downside too. Maybe it could be run a little bit better because I'm not. But I think it's important that I think you look after yourself and make sure you're working for a company that's not beating you up. But don't run around, like the world owes you shit, because they don't. I think that's why this whole thing is about finding balance. If you get too many workers that have this sense of entitlement, then it can, and the employer or the guy that owns a business or the gal that owns a business, that might, really grind on them, and they're like, no, I'm not dealing with that. But, you might be getting abused by an employer who just is a schmuck. Then you need to fire your boss and go find another job. Or another position. So, I think that's, there's no real tactic. It's, when you're talking about working in an office with humans, it's very much a human-based approach. Skill set, you just got to go get your credentials and work on it, mate. That's what I'd say. Okay.
We're out.
Okay, so what's that, an hour and 20?
Yep.
Okay, folks, an hour and 20. I'm going to tap out. And is that a question from user? How do you feel about time and material versus a fixed budget? Give me the freaking podcast. Is it episode 60?
Of what?
Oh, I don't know. It's
fixed price versus
fixed price versus time and material, which would be plus a management fee or whatever. It's cost plus, and then versus a fixed budget.
Fixed price contracts or hold up.
So anywhere I talk about fixed price versus cost plus.
Yeah, episode 44, you talk about the ugly truth about cost plus contracts.
Ooh, I wonder if I talked about, okay, episode what? 40?
44, so you're going to go back a bit?
So episode 44, maybe I'm sure I've talked about. Episode 44 on Business for Builders podcast or episode 44 on Business for Builders YouTube, I talk about, maybe the ugly side of cost plus, which is time and materials.
Maybe that could be next week's.
Yeah, maybe. You know what I'm going to do?
Refresh it.
If Dan Booth pops onto TikTok, he's going to freaking destroy me. Remind me today to send Dan Booth an email, and I'll tell you what, we'll get him on an episode of Business for Builders next week if he can fit us in, and we will talk about the difference between fixed price, because that's a Canadian, run a big company in Ontario, and we will jam around that. So, user, I don't know what your name is, but user 88 bloody whatever it is, we're going to do a podcast. I'm going to jam with a Canadian builder, and I will hopefully he's in agreement with being on the show next week, and where we can jam about. That I want to get his point of view, because if it's episode 40, dude, that's like 60,
And
70 episodes together.
Jill added episode 93. You cover it a little bit.
Okay, episode 93, I covered a little bit too. So episode 44, did you say?
Yes, 44 and 93.
44 and 93, we obviously talk a little bit about fixed price and cost plus, and we jam around it. But I will reach out to one of my TikTok counterparts, and I might get him on the next show. We told him we were going to have him on December 6th, and we didn't do that very well because we got Goochlew in. Oh, not Goochlew. We got Jacob in.
Right.
So we run that. That one would have dropped yesterday, so we didn't have to do it.
Yeah.
So anyway,
we got a question here.
Okay.
Andy.
Righto, Andy.
From TikTok.
Because we are going to we're winding up, folks. This is the wind-up call. Yep. Now they're starting to come in.
Struggling to be everywhere at once, on site / doing paperwork / on the tools, but can afford more people.
Yep. I'll tell you what you do, bro. This is what you do. Okay, so when you're dealing with multiple projects, 1, 2, 3, let's say 3 projects, and he's got this freaking issue where he can't be everywhere and all things to all parties. What you have to do, mate, is you've got to break some eggs to get an omelet made. And so if you do not, this thing is not even going to get into the pan, right? So what you've got to do is you've got to bite the bullet and you've got to communicate. And this is the common term that's used in the medical world, especially in emergencies, is you've got to triage. So if you can't afford to hire people, that means you've got to do everything yourself, bro. And so what that means is you're going to piss some people off, right? So you've got to do the work yourself. You can't afford to hire people. You've got to work sub-trades. So what you have to do is, instead of running those 3 jobs in series, you've now got to run them in parallel. So what you've got to think about is, okay, let's just say if you've got three jobs, the guy who's number 3 and 2, they're going to be pissed. The guy who's number 1 is like, I don't care, life's awesome, blue skies and lollipops. So it's now comes down to communication. And for a moment in time, you're going to be working 40 hours a day, 8 days a week, because you're one guy. Now, this is not sustainable, dude. So to fix your immediate problem, this is what you're going to have to do. Communicate, triage, in other words, organize them in order of priority. And there's different ways you're going to analyze that. You go, okay, so this job here, job number 1, is actually closer to being finished. I need to put the other 2 behind him and just quickly wrap that one up and get it sorted out, and then go to the next one that's the most closest to finished and wrap it up. So the poor guy that's the furthest away from being finished, he's going to wait extra long for his project, for you to finish his project. But it's just, you might analyze it the other way. You might go and say, well, the guy that's going to be that's the furthest away from finishing, I'm going to have to work on his project and get it to completion, which means the other guys that are so close, they're going to have to wait. Now, that might be a bad call, because if you can finish them quick and wrap up the job and get the cash, you can then focus all headlong on that big job, or that job that's the furthest away from being, finished. All I know is this comes down to project management, and it also comes down to your ability to manage the stress that you are now going to be subject to. But know this, fact, you are going to be under stress no matter what you do right now, because you've backed yourself into a corner. And that's a freaking challenge for you to push your way out of. But I'll tell you this, bro, if you can negotiate and navigate your way through this, you will be a better building company operator, guarantee you, because for you to negotiate your way through this, many try but few succeed. So maybe this would be a classic example that this little bit of coaching that I'm giving you, you're going to need more of this. And this is why I say that coaching or being part of a group or something like Smith & Sons, where you can pick the phone up and ask for help. And I know I sat down with beers with guys about 3 nights ago, and they're all talking about building a group of subcontractors that they share to make sure that they A, get priority, and B, they get good service because of the priority, and they actually get this work done. So joining up with other guys who aren't competitive, they're not competitive focused, they're like, well, I'm not going to share shit with you, bro, because you're going to take work off me. If you just knew the level of opportunity that's in your town, and here's a guy who's asked me for advice because he's got too much work. So you got to have this, ability to see the amount of opportunity that's available, instead of being scarcity mindset and going, well, there's no opportunity. But if you can get through this now, was that Andy?
Yes.
Yeah, Andy, if you can get through this, mate, and look, feel free to email. You got to stay in contact, mate, because what you need is a little bit of encouragement. It'll go a long way to helping you just take one day. And that's the thing. One day at a time, one piece of communication, one job at a time. I know this. I used to go sit in the office and I'd be thinking about what's happening on the building site. No sooner than I got to the building site, I was thinking about what's going on in the office. And I understand. I mean, the struggle is real. But I think in hindsight, what you've got to learn from this, Andy, is to know your limitations. Make sure that you're not putting too many projects together at once. I call it separation. Project separation is what I call it. And make sure that you don't really, and of course you can start jobs and have guys and then guys quit and all of a sudden you're in the shit, which is maybe why Andy's ended up where he is. And you got to make sure that you're not pricing too cheap, because then you can't afford to get guys on, and you win a lot of jobs because you are cheap. And now you've got a shitstorm because you're doing work that you're not making money on, and you're doing work that you can't afford to hire guys on. It's like, my gosh. Anyway, so Andy, yeah, stay in touch, mate. And I know you probably haven't got time, but make the most of the podcast, Andy, between jobs. Maybe while you're working away, have it buzzing in the background, and just stay strong, mate. And talk to me if you got any issues that I might be able to help you with. We'll see how we go. Let's go. Next question.
Final question.
Okay.
Where can I find your podcast?
Was there one above that?
No.
Mate, you can find Colin. Just started there's a user coming in with a question, but he didn't finish it. So, Colin's like, where can I find your
Link
podcast?
in bio.
Right, the link's in the bio, Colin, but mate, it's on Apple and it's on iTunes for sure. I think it's on Google as well if you're looking there, and iHeartRadio.
YouTube.
And it's on YouTube. So Business for Builders, that's where you can look. And I think my name's there, so maybe Max Peterson, Business for Builders. If you Google that, that'll help you find it. Go build a kick-ass business. See you on the next episode. Next Q&A. Boom.